We are 48 schools across 14 cities, but together we are one Shawnee mission, and we are all in.
All right, welcome back, everyone. Welcome to Shawnee Mission Mic'd Up. My name is Mike Schumacher. I am the proud superintendent of the Shawnee Mission School District. Dr. Gonzer?
Yeah, and I'm your proud co-host.
Yes, you are.
Nice to see you again.
Good to see you. It's like we only see each other at podcast time, it seems like.
You know, things are a little busy right now, but a good busy, right?
Crazy
It's just
busy.
What comes with August.
Right.
It's good.
So you know my question I'm going to ask you.
Maybe?
Yeah.
Okay, go
Are
for
you
it.
still ridiculously positive?
Ridiculously positive. I told you I'm not letting it go.
Me either. Okay, we're going to continue that streak throughout the course of the year, and we'll ask our guests here in a little bit too if they're ridiculously positive also. So just a quick recap of our last episode. We had a great time out on assignment. What a great event that was.
That was amazing. It was so cool to get to kind of have the VIP tour of Russian, see it from not only the staff eyes but the student eyes as well. It was awesome. That one's going to be hard to top.
Yeah, and just as a reminder, we were out at Rushton. We interviewed Christy Fornell, Debbie Coleman, the longtime secretary there, and we, of course, interviewed some kids, the boss, and got to see that wonderful community. Just a real quick recap, what was one of your favorite things of that interview?
Yeah, when Christy made those connections to their community and how it felt like coming home and that small town feel, I know that really struck me as just how much this really means to that community, and is a good reminder of the role that our schools play in our community, not just teaching. Obviously, that's our primary responsibility, but we are fortunate to be part of those communities and those families in their lives, and that was just a cool connection. It was neat to hear her share about that.
Yeah, I love that too. And we say we're one Shawnee Mission, and we are, but there's 45 individual little communities out there that make up our one Shawnee Mission, and that's a great example. For me, it was Debbie really calling out that the principal said that Russian was a hidden secret, and they're not a secret anymore.
Definitely not.
That was really cool, and such a great addition to that community, and just a wonderful example of the commitment from our Shawnee Mission community to support that. So great episode. If you haven't watched that, please encourage you to go back and take a look at that.
Yeah, because the kids are adorable too.
Yeah, incredibly adorable. Yeah. So talk about the strategic plan a little bit and how there's a connection there.
Yeah, so Rushton is a part of our previous strategic plan cycle, so cycle 1, and we have really kicked things off for cycle 2 of the strategic plan, and it's neat to see where all that leads. So it really has set us up nicely to discuss round 2 today.
Right, and so we have a couple guests that we'll get to here in a second, but in that segue, we're not done building in that first strategic plan, cycle 1, and that first bond. Community members may know or they may not. We have one final build. Tomahawk Elementary's coming up out of the ground. I just drove past it today. It looks incredible. There's steel everywhere. You can see the structures, the gymnasium and some other structures, and they're getting that skin on there. I think that's the technical name of it. Looks really good. And so that's that last piece. We will talk more about that strategic plan cycle 2 and what facilities will go into that. But just as a reminder too, we did do a facilities audit, I think back in 2016, 2017, and our community knew all along that it was going to take multiple cycles to get the work done. And that's the importance of strategy, the strategic plan cycle 2. And so maybe a nice segue into our guest today.
That's perfect. And every time we've built a new building and I've had the chance to go and see it, I'm like, oh man, that one's the best one, right? That's my favorite. And of course that happened at Rushton too. So that just makes me even more excited to see Tomahawk.
Absolutely. Yeah, so drive by. It's a beautiful new building, and we're going to open that up in August of next year. Okay. All right, so let's introduce our guest. First, we have with us Dr. Leanne Neal, our Chief of Student Services, Sustainability. What else is in your title, Dr. Neal?
Chief of Early Childhood and Sustainability, and then other duties as assigned. So things like the strategic plan, which has been amazing. I'm so excited to be here to share some of the work that went into that plan, and R&D forum, and then whatever else comes my way.
Yeah, and a master of all of those. And then Remy Witt, student at Shawnee Mission South. You want to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I'm Remy. I'm a senior at Shawnee Mission South, and getting to serve on the strategic planning committee, it's just a great opportunity to see what's going on in our community. Yeah.
So we teased it that we had some incredible guests and at our last episode, and so you guys are it. So don't disappoint. Okay. You guys are going to be great. We want to talk about the work, and Dr. Neal, you have done incredible work shepherding the strategic plan along. It's no small task getting that done. So we got a couple questions for you, Dr. Gonzer.
Yeah, well, Let's start really low level here. What is a strategic plan? Like, can you maybe explain the difference between a strategic plan and other types of plans maybe people have heard about?
Sure. So I think, strategic planning, people know that in a variety of forms. I've been in the district a long time, so I've actually worked under a variety of plans, typically all similar in that they're usually 5-year increments, but very different in terms of their formation, how they've been actualized. I think Dr. Gunn, who supported us in the work in a consulting role, I thought he did a great job of walking our steering committee, which was the first level that was really working on this, and what Remy was a part of and a great voice in, was really challenging them to be extraordinary, to really look at that North Star in the planning, rather than just thinking about what we do now and pushing that work out, really thinking about and imagining what do we want for our school district, for our students, a year from now, 5 years from now, and really challenging them to think big. And also in that, challenging them as they're looking through information and data that was shared with them. Are there things that we need to think about strategically retiring to make some room for these new things that we need to be sure that our students are college, career, and future ready?
Yeah, I love that. And I want to get back to the experiences that you've had in Shawnee Mission, because I think they're unique and kind of set you up for success in leading the strategic plan. But I want to go to Remy real quick. Sure. So Remy, Dr. Neal mentioned your role on the strategic plan. Talk about that steering committee and what that meant to you, and maybe a little bit about behind the scenes to our audience of what that steering committee looked like.
Yeah, so I was a student representative on the steering committee, and I was the only one from my school, so I felt honored to be able to be the voice for my school and really just say what I hoped the people around me were thinking. The steering committee's job was basically to define what our strategies, our broad strategies were going to be for this plan. And I think it was just a wonderful experience. We didn't get bogged down in the details. We thought big, thanks to Dr. Gunn, like you said. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm going to come back and ask you about some of the things that you and some of the other students pushed us towards. But maybe back to Dr. Neal, you have a long experience in Shawnee Mission. Start back with maybe your family, your dad, and some of those experiences you've had that set you up for success in leading this.
Sure. So if I can borrow from your theme this year, all in, I would say I'm all in Shawnee Mission, a lifetime. So I've never known a time in my life when Shawnee Mission wasn't a part of it. Both my parents worked in the district. I started school and graduated from Shawnee Mission South, proud Raider. And then I have been honored to be able to work here. I started as a teacher, a special educator, and then an elementary teacher before moving to the communications role, and then the opportunity to turn back during a prior strategic plan around growing early childhood, which is where I've landed today. So I think for me, it's been great to have that perspective. And the thing that I really take to heart in the last cycle one and this cycle that I think are so dramatically different and so important is really the inclusion of so many voices and perspectives. And then the fact that we have been so true to making sure that that plan really drives the work, that it doesn't just sit on a shelf, that it's not just a lot of different goals and objectives, but it truly does drive the work, that people hear about it, that we're accountable back to our community, kind of similar to how we've handled bonds in the past, but we're very accountable with regard to all of the pieces that we put into that strategic plan, so our community, our team members, everybody can follow along with us and see how we're really getting that work done.
I agree with that completely. We've been through 3 superintendents now with these 2 strategic plans, and it's bigger than one person, it's bigger than a Board of Education, it's all of our community, and so I love that call out. Dr. Gonzer?
Yeah, and thanks for sharing with us about that. I know that's kind of one of our purposes, is we want to share more about people and introduce everyone to our community too, so that's kind of nice to hear everybody's background. And Remy, I just have to ask you, I can't imagine being in your shoes as a student and participating in this bigger group of, all these adults and people that you don't know. What did that feel like for you? Can you tell us a little bit about kind of that journey and that process?
Yeah, it was an amazing experience. I was nervous at first, of course. I was like, I'm just a student. All these people are like deep in their careers. But I honestly felt like they really valued my opinion, because I'm the person in school. I'm what this plan is for. So it felt like they definitely took my opinions to heart. And it was really great to be involved in something bigger than me, bigger than just my school, and something that would drive the district to be better.
Yeah, I'm so glad you felt that way because, yeah, your voice is definitely the important one in the room, all of our students. It was awesome to have that.
Yeah. If I can add, I mean, you go back to that steering committee, and maybe you'll read my mind a little bit, but what are one of the couple things that you're most proud of that came out of that steering committee that you'll look at and like, I had a part in that?
Yeah, so originally I think we only had 5 strategies, but the students and I especially pushed for a 6th strategy of mental health. We just thought that was something that was really important to us, and thought that although it may be able to be interpreted through other strategies, it might get overlooked. And we definitely knew it was important to the district. The students had personal stories and just anecdotes that were really powerful that I think pushed us towards advocating for that mental health strategy.
You read my mind. That's exactly what I was hoping you'd say. That's perfect. Yeah, and that's true. I mean, and we've been sharing that, Dr. Neal and I, that we were really the adults pushing for 5 and trying to maybe shove that into another area, and you guys were adamant that it needed to be its standalone. So you should be proud of that. That's great.
Yeah, I had the pleasure of getting to assist and serve on that team with that work, and that was not lost on that team either. I think every time we had a conversation, we went back to, and don't forget, our kids tasked us with this, so that was not lost on that group. Yeah. So, Dr. Neal, we've heard a little bit about student involvement in this planning. Obviously, we've heard from Remy. But how do you keep that student voice going throughout the strategic plan?
Well, at the beginning, I think all of the adults in the room, I said the students are going to be the powerful voices in the room, and I truly believe that. I've never served on a committee where we had students that really, they weren't the ones that really came in usually with the voice of really important viewpoint. So we're going to continue that. Our next step, so we started with the steering committee. Then from there, we had identified the 6 strategies: learning, belonging, people, technology, mental health, and facilities. And then from there, action teams then were formed to broaden that voice and start looking a little more closely at the work. And so on those teams, again, we had students that we placed on those teams that applied to, some applied, some were appointed, because we want to make sure that we're across feeder patterns and that we have student voice. And now we're at the point where we're now in the next round of kind of sub-action committees is really what they are, digging deeper into starting to complete that work. And again, we'll ensure that we have students as a part of the membership of those teams.
As we're doing that work, and again, maybe we're thinking along the same lines, but is there any specific strategy or action group that's generating more conversation than another? Is there something that the communities you're really hearing from? Yeah.
So this time around, we have 2 new strategies. So I think I'd probably start with those. One of them is around mental health, and that topic is just so important, and people care so deeply about it. So I think there's a lot of there was a lot of interest in that when we opened up the nomination application around wanting to help in that area. Also, technology, of course. I'm sure many of the listeners, if you're listening to really any media channel or reading any articles, technology and particularly personal devices or cell phones are a hot topic. And so that is one of the first action teams will really dig in and look at that and talk about that particular topic. And in some respects, I know there was some conversation even on the steering committee and those action teams around how are even that mental health piece and technology sometimes connected. And then I'd be remiss if I didn't say learning. That's the crux of the work that we do. It's at the heart. And so I think that's always a really important one that people are talking about. We have a couple of exciting pieces in there to look at around increasing bilingualism and what that might look like. And then also, near and dear to my heart, of course, looking at how can we continue to grow our early childhood and early intervention offerings.
That's great. Yeah, those are the ones I was thinking of course. And Remy, I'm not going to ask you your opinion on those things, but you'll remember that during that steering committee, we made a decision to have the action team take a look at those personal devices. Are you hearing anything? Are students talking at all? And I don't know if the answer is going to be yes or no, but are students talking at all about the strategic plan? I mean,
I wouldn't say they're talking directly about the strategic plan itself, but they're definitely afraid of getting their phones. It's on social media. There's definitely a lot of schools, especially this year. I think it was a big year for schools to really crack down on cell phone usage and technology and how they're utilizing it. So I think people are just curious to see what the district plans to do.
Right. And we're being very intentional, and so that team's going to start their work immediately, maybe within the next couple weeks, hopefully making a recommendation to the Board of Education pretty soon, at the very least by the end of the semester. So that's kind of where we're at there. Maybe still with you, Remy. How do you see some of the action teams that you know of in the strategic plan directly impacting kids, either this year or the years coming up?
Yeah, so with like you said, technology, that's definitely going to be a big one, especially if something's implemented so soon. Kids are definitely going to feel the impact of that. They may be a little resistant to it, but it's going to be better for everybody. Along with that, I'd say the mental health, just making sure that that's definitely a priority, that kids are getting the help they need immediately, because it's not something that you can just wait on. So I hope that resources and access to those resources definitely improves, and we see an increase in just general mental health in the district.
Perfect. Sounds good.
That's an important point. Remy, I think I heard you allude to maybe that all of our students aren't paying a ton of attention to the strategic plan itself right now. I think I maybe heard you say that. Give us some advice. What can we do to better communicate, reach that audience, because that student voice is so important to us. Any tips you could give us on how to get this in front of our students?
Yeah, that's hard. The students, they consume what they want to consume. But yeah, when I told people I'm serving on the strategic planning committee, they're like, "What's that? What are you talking about?" So yeah, we have a Raider report, which is like a weekly news thing. So I think if you are early on in the year, maybe slip some info about it in there, get in touch with the video production team. Kids usually watch that. There's usually some fun stuff going on, and if you piece that in there.
All right. Let's add that to our notes, too. That's how we're going to reach them.
Right. And maybe it's okay, too. I mean, your goal is, as students, is to learn, to engage, to be a part of that community, and it's our role as leaders to kind of eliminate hurdles, provide you with resources, and maybe you don't need to know the depths of all of the strategic work that's taking place, but maybe a little awareness might be okay too. So
we'll try.
Right. So Dr. Neal, clearly the work is beginning. It's going to take 5 years. How can people get involved? Like if someone's listening to this, they haven't signed up, but what are ways in which people can get involved in our work?
Sure. So we've opened up the application/nomination process. So we've actually, we opened it. We had some great response to that, but we still need more. So that application nomination is actually still open. So we'll be formulating those action teams right now with the applications that we have in for at least the first quarter, possibly first and second quarter action teams, but we could use more members. And certainly we're always looking for more community members, parents, students to apply and to get involved. So that is still open. So I'm sure somebody can flash up a QR code and provide that information as part of this. So we would encourage you to go online and to fill that out, either self-apply or nominate someone who you feel like would have a great voice related to any one of the number of action teams that are starting this first year. I also wanted to mention, because I think it's really interesting in that cycle too, that the steering committee and the action teams really focused not just on Shawnee Mission team members and students, but really looked more broadly at impacting the community and including the community in many of those strategies, which I thought was really interesting and really creating more of that inclusivity of beyond just the schools.
Yeah. And I don't know if you remember it, Remy, from the steering committee, but a lot of people spoke to the idea of creating this destination school district, this destination community where people wanted to come live and work and play. And so that's a great call out. I love that. Yeah. Maybe Dr. Neal, one more thing, just any additional call outs from the strategic plan, something you're proud of, just last comments about what we're doing.
I just think, I think the work has been, if you think about, we launched with a thought exchange that had 1,400 individuals who responded and over 42,000 ratings of the thoughts. So that started with a lot of community feedback, which was great. And then we've continued to layer on over 200 individuals who have been a part of the work so far. So I think that's really important. And but we need more. So if you know of folks, please send them our way. I think facilities, again, you started with a wrap up around kind of how we're kind of winding down from cycle one, but facilities is another strategy. So there's a lot of potential excitement and visioning around what that next round of those things might look like and be to share out with our community.
That's great.
It's really interesting to hear so much of that behind the scenes perspective, just how thoughtful everyone has been, and including all those different perspectives. We appreciate you sharing that with us. I think that's some of the work that people don't always hear about and know so much about.
Sure.
Remy, I just have to ask you, because I'll be honest with you, I'm kind of in awe of you. I will tell you that when I was your age, I was not doing all the things you are doing. You've told us about some cool opportunities you had over the summer, some of your future plans. I know it's not about the strategic plan, but I got to know a little bit more. What's next for Remy, and what have you been up to?
Well, I don't know, big stuff, I guess. College applications, applying to college, all that. My parents told me when they're looking at how I approach everything, they're like, we just kind of sit back and watch. Like, you're just doing what you do. I was like, yeah, they're a little weary of what I get involved in sometimes if I'm gonna persevere, but I'm here now, so
I think we're all just sitting back and watching. I can't wait to see where you go.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for everything you've done. You've got a bright future ahead. Dr. Neal, thank you so much for everything you do around the strategic plan. I think you said it best. It's our community's plan. It represents all of us, and we're committed to it. It doesn't sit on our shelves. It's an active part of what we do every single day in the Shawnee Mission School District. Thanks, Remy, for everything you do, too.
Thank you.
Yep. All right, so ready to wrap this up?
Let's do it.
Okay. So just a reminder that new episodes of the show will drop every other week on Thursdays. You can check out past episodes on smsd.org and send us story ideas or feedback. We want this, again, to be a place where we can answer questions, engage with our community. They're very supportive, and we want those content ideas any chance that they get.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's give everybody a little preview of what they can expect next. So we're going to be talking about new teacher experience, right?
Yeah, so something near and dear to my heart. People don't know I was in HR previous to taking this seat. And one of the things that we launched during that time, I can't take credit for it. Miss Pam Lewis is the one that headed that up, but SMSD Recruit. Yeah. It is something that I think is at least fairly unique to Shawnee Mission, at least initially. I think people are probably copying us now. But SMSD Recruit and the retention efforts that are part of that as well, and then those new teacher experiences. We want to talk about the ways in which we are supporting our teachers, recruiting our teachers, and making sure they feel at home here in Shawnee Mission, they stay here in Shawnee Mission. So we're going to talk with some folks from there.
Yeah, it'll be exciting to welcome them and check in on our new teachers. Haven't seen them in a couple of weeks, so it'll be good to just see how they're doing and see what their experience has been like.
Yeah. So about the time that this is dropping too, we've got sports starting off in the school district. We've got tremendous teams out there, not just sports, but all of our extracurricular activities. And football will be kicking off the next day, tomorrow. And we would be remiss if we didn't recognize the fact that we experienced a tragedy in the Shawnee Mission School District, and we lost someone near and dear to us. And so just all of our thoughts go out to the Northwest community and that team, and we're supporting of them. We'll continue to be supporting of them throughout the course of the year.
Yeah, we certainly couldn't start without mentioning that. Yeah. All right, well, before we leave, we have a few other things we need to take care of. We need to thank some people. We need to thank McKenna Campbell, our music tech student from East, who created our fantastic music. Again, just always amazes me what our kids can do. And of course, our communications team, who has the tough task of wrangling us every couple of weeks.
Yeah, absolutely, they do a great job.
That's right.
And then again, we're doing a featured photo, and so I'm guessing our team is flashing that information up right now. But Shawnee Mission West, we're shouting out Shawnee Mission West. Talk about the featured photo for us.
This is so cool. As the person who doesn't consider themselves super musically inclined, I was just really struck by this. Yeah, so this is the Shawnee Mission West Pride, the band, doing their thing live on TV with Channel 9. They landed a helicopter on the football field. Never thought I'd see that happen at Shawnee Mission West, but that was cool. So yeah, I will say I tuned in for that one live, but I've also rewatched it several times.
Me too. And Mr. Blake Ravel, of course, shout out to him, and Dr. Bill Thomas for the work that he did. Just again, a great example of the awesome things that are taking place across the Shawnee Mission School District. And guys, keep telling our story to our community members. Keep telling the story of the great things that are happening in Shawnee Mission, because there are great things happening here in the Shawnee Mission School District.
Yeah, you would never guess that it was like pre-dawn when they were doing that based on the energy of those two.
Yeah. So thanks again to our guests, Dr. Leanne Neal, Remy Witt, for spending some time with us. Awesome strategic plan that we're going to continue to work on. And that wraps up episode 3.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for joining us. One Shawnee Mission, and we are all in.